Well, it's the end of yet another week, and here on this channel that means one thing and one thing only. Every weekend I post an episode of this series we do called Your Take Not Mine, where I turn to you, the viewers, to give me your hottest NBA takes of the week based on what's going on at the time, and I then choose my favorite submissions and discuss them in a video. This week we saw the trade deadline come and go, and plenty of big moves were made, so clearly we have a lot to talk about. In order to submit your takes, I make a community post either on the day of or the day before the video, similar to the one that you see on your screen now. So if you want a chance to be featured in a future episode, be sure to stay on the lookout for that. Before we start though, it turns out about 65% of you watching right now aren't even subscribed to the channel, so please, if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, as not only does it help out a ton, but I would also very much appreciate it. Now with that being said, let's begin. The first take we'll be discussing comes to us from Gibran, and he says that the Bucks aren't necessarily getting worse, but the teams around them are just getting better, and because of it, their championship window is already starting to close. So to start off, the context to the first part of this take is that the Bucks have been the #1 seed in the East each of the last 2 years, so the fact that they're now in 3rd place in the Eastern Conference could definitely be viewed as them regressing. Now, is this a cause of them getting worse, or is it because of teams around them getting better than previous years? Well, it's definitely a combination of both. The Bucks went almost all in on a Jrue Holiday trade before the season started in the preseason to add a 3rd star-caliber player to their lineup, but in exchange, they lost a lot of the team's depth, and that lack of depth has definitely hurt them at times in this regular season. Holiday has been good so far for them, but not as good as he's been in previous years, and he's missed a decent amount of time this season because of injury as well. The playoffs are where Holiday has typically stepped his game up though, so that's where that move will have its value determined. But objectively, both because of winning percentage and top to bottom strength, the Bucks are slightly worse. On top of that, as was also originally stated in the take, the Nets may be the best team the East has seen over the last few years where the Bucks have been on top, and they have so much room to improve as well when Kevin Durant comes back, along with when their buyout additions get comfortable in the rotation. Ultimately, the Bucks championship window will always be open while Giannis Antetokounmpo is under contract for them, but things do seem to be getting tougher and tougher for them to improve with so many expensive players on long-term contracts using up most of their cap space while also having traded away a lot of their draft capital in that Jrue Holiday trade. The next take we'll be discussing comes to us from Pranay, and he says that the Nets are obviously a really good team, but have become overrated lately because of all of the big names that they're bringing in, and those guys won't have as big of an impact as people are acting like they will. So this take is in reference to the Nets adding both Blake Griffin and now LaMarcus Aldridge to their roster after those players got bought out by their teams to become free agents, and obviously those are two players who at their peaks were some of the best players in the whole league at their positions. So when it comes to fans looking in on the situation, it's easy to assume that the Nets are now stacking the deck and have built a super team, but the super team foundation was already in place, built on the trio of James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving, and it really has nothing at all to do with these two new additions. The fact of the matter is that right now in 2021, neither Griffin or Aldridge are anything close to the players that they used to be, and they got bought out by their teams for a reason. Griffin may be dunking again, but ignoring his clearly fading athleticism and the fact that both he and Aldridge have been very poor on the defensive end this year would be disingenuous. Yes, both of them can contribute in limited bench minutes, specifically offensively, but they're not go-to guys anymore, and the defensive end of the floor where the Nets' biggest worries have always lied did not improve with these two additions either. The trio of Harden, Durant, and Irving are the reason why this team is scary, while Aldridge and Griffin are role players at this point in their careers. The next take we'll be discussing comes to us from the King of Fedoras, and he says that Andre Drummond will actually hurt the Lakers' chances of winning more than he'll help because of his selfish and stubborn playing style that won't mesh well with LeBron. So it just got announced today that Andre Drummond will be signing with the Lakers after clearing waivers, and because of him being a big name who has put up some impressive production over the years, the fans are pretty excited. But personally, I've never really been a fan of Drummond's game that much, and he just seems to be the most spot-on representation of a guy who can dominate in terms of numbers in the box score while struggling to actually turn that production into meaningful impact on a team on either end. For one, big men like him who spend almost all their time around the basket on offense are expected to be efficient because of the high-quality shots that they take, yet Drummond has always struggled with his touch around the basket, and this year it's backed up by the fact that out of 274 players in the league this year that have had 200 or more scoring possessions where they've gotten a shot off, Drummond ranks 263rd, making him one of the least efficient scorers in the entire league this year. His rebounding is of course solid, as he's a multiple-time rebounding champion from the league, but his struggles on offense, that stubbornness mentioned earlier, along with the fact that he doesn't space the floor at all for a Lakers team that probably needs more of that, just doesn't seem like that great of a fit as some might think it is. And finally, the last take we'll be discussing today comes to us from Sharon, and they say that there are really only about 5 actually bad teams in the league right now, which just goes to show how strong the talent level has become in the NBA this year. The reason that I chose this take is because it's something that I've actually had in the back of my mind for a little bit now to a degree, and I'm glad others are starting to take notice of it. Like, for example, when you look at the schedule and see certain teams matched up on any given night, there are such fewer amount of games where it's just blatantly obvious that one team will beat the other handily. Obviously, there are contenders that are expected to win on a nightly basis at the top of the standings, but at the same time, there aren't nearly as many games where you see your favorite team is playing against their opponent and you feel completely confident in them getting an easy win. Like, the only teams that fall into that category nowadays are the Rockets, the Pistons, the Cavaliers, the Magic, especially after all the trades they made, and the Timberwolves. And to be completely honest, most of those teams have really good star players that can help them pull off the occasional upsets as well. I think too many people are quick to write off this modern era with so many players producing impressive statistics that we've never seen before on a nightly basis, but in actuality, there genuinely just is a larger group of talent capable of doing so now. The league is in good hands for the future for sure, and the talent level is definitely improving. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you think about the takes we discussed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.